Thanks to support from my patrons, version 5 of the completely free community material pack for Blender is now available. This can be obtained on Gumroad for free, just put 0 in the price field, or alternatively on Superhive for $1 because my account can't post free products yet, so Gumroad is where you'd get it for free. Today we're going to take a look at the new materials. Most of the materials added in this version are community submissions from our Discord server. So first of all, there is a flesh material. As you can see, it's a little bit gross. It might actually be better to visualize it on a clean sphere. There is some displacement around the edges of objects. As you can note here, this may be a bit better for like organic sculptures of some kind. But as with all of the materials, it is completely procedural. You'll find a flesh node group. This one in particular was contributed by Marton with some cleanups by Wilson. In here, you'll see it is quite a comprehensive shader. So all of the veins and the scabbing is completely procedurally modifiable. And you can see that it's controlled by noise textures. So I recommend you go in, have a play around, and it may be a fantastic starting point for you for creating all different kinds of organic materials. If you want to help fund more free projects for the community, then I recommend checking out codasol.online/Patreon. You can learn more there about how the silver tier will get you access to exclusive content while also helping to fund these projects. For people doing military or like milsim/military sci-fi stuff, we have some camo materials. These are also contributed by Marton and they are packaged into node groups as well. So there's 3 variations. There's forest, sand, and winter, but you'll notice that they can all be modified as well. So the basic parameters have been exposed in the node tree. Again, these are all very educational as well if you're the kind of person that likes breaking things apart and seeing how the patterns are composed together. Naturally, all of these materials, or pretty much all of them, there are some exceptions when it comes to UVs, are procedural, meaning in theory, if I bring in my human skull sculpt, with that scaled up, we should be able to like apply one of the camo effects and we can see how it wraps around the object. So you could have quite a lot of fun with these. This is obviously very heavy on the checker texture and some mathematics. So play around with the values, create all different kinds of variations of camos. And you could probably tell by looking at this, you could recycle this for different kinds of sci-fi UI elements as well. So I think there's a lot of potential behind it. Also added in this version is the Mossy Stone material. This one was made by Wilson and I really like this one. So like a variety of the materials included in this free pack, it is somewhat designed for adaptive subdivision. You may notice that as I ticked on adaptive subdivision, we get some more finer displacement details on the object. There is a global scale control, so if I scrub that up, we can see the frequency of the details increasing. You can also go into it and learn a bit more about the node setup. Notice we've got displacement down here as well. So you could always just like scrub that up slightly as well, just to see what happens to the effect. So again, great starting point, especially in a free pack for learning about adaptive subdivision materials and creating nature and particularly rock and moss type materials. Also included in version 5 is the textured plastic material by Marton. Now from a distance you might think, well, there's not really much happening with this. But weirdly, this is one of my favorite additions to the pack because it's very subtle, which makes it great for like product visualizations or those close-up, almost macro shots of like plastic products or even sci-fi elements, you know, like handheld devices. You'll notice there's these little grooves, these little bumps interlaced with scratches and speckles. And all of this has fantastic controls. You can control like the bump level of that kind of, you know, anti-wet texture, including these scratches. You can scrub them around. It's procedural, so it will fit around any shape as well. Let me apply it to this one because I love the look here. So you can see that. Of course, the color can be modified. So we can get that kind of dark material that you might get on, you know, like the handheld section of a camera. I personally might go in and say, for example, I look for the roughness value in the principled BSDF. I can see the mix shader and I might want to adjust this to make it slightly less reflective. So again, everything is designed for you to actually just go in and modify however you like. But this one in particular has a great variety of features for quite a simple material. There's also a little bit of transmission set up. So if you want to give it a bit more of a like not completely opaque plastic feel, you definitely can. I think once people play around with this one, they're really going to like it. Another material added this time is the Nutty Chocolate. So you can tell that this one is more designed for adaptive subdivision. Again, because it's procedural, it may look a little bit weird on a sphere, but you can kind of imagine it like a Ferrero Rocher. Is that what it's called? I noticed this one hasn't actually been named. That's all right. Maybe I'll do that for the next version. You can modify the colors. It may look a little bit disgusting, but it's fine. If I apply it to our other shape here, you can see that it's trying to displace, but this is a hard surface object, so it looks a bit strange there. But you could, for example, apply this to a cuboid shape that has been divided, and you could get like a chocolate bar from that. By playing with the noise textures inside, you can make things maybe, you know, like a little bit more swirly, simulating different, you know, chocolatier processes. So this one might be quite an interesting one for people. Interestingly as well, I can imagine this being adapted for something that's a bit more gross, you know, like pimples and stuff under the skin. You'll find it's quite interesting how a lot of materials can be repurposed for like other types of projects. So just letting you know that's been included as well. Oh, and by the way, this was added by Donna, who is another talent on my agency system, so they're available for work if you're interested. Another material added this time is the Scratched Metal by Marton. So this one, a bit like the Textured Plastic, is basically feature-rich and full of parameters. Again, please ignore the naming issues. I spent more time trying to add the materials this time than actually cleaning things up. Trying to make the most of the time that the patrons are paying me for. So here you'll see that there's different varieties of scratches. Scratches can be quite a difficult thing to simulate with nice textures, but I think Marton has done a really good job here. But this one does also consider the shape of the object, again, because it's procedural. So for example, if I bring back my custom material preview object here, we can control the AO strength. You can see it inside. There's also a dust mix, so it will try to add dust on top of the painted metal, which looks pretty good. We've got general paint roughness. It's always great to have a roughness control for like metal-based materials. General scale for all of the effects as well. And of course, color variety. You can also have the AO color be separate from the base color. So this can lead to some interesting visuals as well. The metal exposed by the scratches can have its own roughness value. I'm noticing that there's no overall scratches influence, so I might add that afterwards, like in a future version. But again, everything is exposable here, so you can just go in and modify the values however you like, create new variations of the material. It's freely accessible, contributed by Marton, so thank you to Marton for contributing this. Just play around and have fun. So in terms of plastic, we have more materials contributed by Donna. We've got speckled materials here. I've added a free variations, similar to how the Camo material had free variations. We've got speckled blue, speckled neutral, and orange. Now I can imagine these being used for a variety of purposes. Yes, there's the element of product visualization, but also I've seen different types of environments with floors that have this kind of material on them, which is interesting. There are a lot of parameters for this, for controlling the properties of the speckles, for making some of them more metallic or roughness, and again, individually changing the colors of them. So despite it being a relatively simple one, there's a lot of control over it. If you are doing more finer product type stuff, then it might be worth going very high scale with it, because the really cool variety in the speckles actually gives something quite believable at a high scale. It's also kind of reminding me of like recycled plastic or cardboard type stuff, because you know in recycled cardboard you get like all different kind of specks of color and stuff like that. So you can see how if you play around with this, you'll be able to achieve quite a few convincing looks with it. Another material contributed by Marton is Sci-Fi Panels. So this one will be quite fun for people, obviously those that are interested in sci-fi type stuff. There are so many parameters to play with here, it's kind of difficult to explain it all in one go. So I recommend people just literally grab a hold of it and start playing with it. It is quite a complex material, and I'm sure the starting point for a lot of projects. Marton has contributed so much, like to the community material pack. So feel free to say thank you to them. Look, there's also potential for emissive styles in this. Now here's something interesting as well. Despite the panel amount value being grayed out, if you scrub that back and forth, it does actually have an influence over the material. I think you'd be interested in trying this on different types of shapes, including, you know, like blockouts for starship type shapes. Note that the emission color can also be changed. So if you want to go for something a bit more Tron-like, that is very easy. In fact, let's do that now. I'm just going to like darken these things a bit. Finally, I'm going to adjust the concrete layer scale. And I think this could be really fun for blocking out sci-fi environments, because obviously this can be placed on planes and other cubic type shapes, not just a sphere. Next up, we have a ghost material by Hilly. This one is very interesting because it's the starting point for a whole range of holographic type effects. I actually don't know how to explain the potential of this one to you. You can just see that there's all different kinds of layering effects happening inside of the volume of the shape. Again, it's procedural, you'll be able to apply it to all different types of shapes. So it'll be up to you to discover what kinds of effects you can generate with it. If you wanted, you could also apply drivers or connect these values to keyframes to animate them as well. With the strings value, you can adjust the influence of that line and layer type effect inside of it. There's obviously scale as well and detail level. So this is an extremely unique one. I would be very curious to see what kinds of, like, you know, even motion graphic type effects people will be able to make with it. So you can get quite creative. Thank you, Hilly. Now we've got another complex one by Marton. See, Marton is always bringing the extremely complex materials. This is an asphalt one. So if you're making a road of any kind, obviously this would be more appropriate to show on a plane. So you can see here, I've set up a plane. Now this one is not bundled into a node group. I have not put the time into doing that yet, which means it is more difficult to modify. However, it's contributed by Marton. Be very thankful that they put the time into this. If you're getting this for free, the least you can do is put some time into studying the node layout, playing with the properties, and seeing what happens when you modify them. Thankfully, the different areas have been put into framed groups. So you can see here, this is responsible for the puddles as listed. We've got areas for color, the lines of the road, the general noise, gravel of different sizes, cracks, etc. For example, I'm noticing that in the puddle section, the second noise texture is somewhat responsible for the distribution of puddles on the road. So I hope you enjoy it, spend some time with it, and feel free to show us what you make with it. So I want to make a note about the glass materials in this, because we had regular glass, we had a dispersion glass and frosted variations. However, as Blender has been updated, the original dispersion glass in this stopped working. So Slink added a new version. So let me reuse my other object here. You can see that we get a nice color dispersion through this object. Now, there are lots of different ways to do dispersion. I also recommend a video by my collaborator on Hex Scatter, Azzy, who's done a video talking about that. Also, there may be some spelling inconsistencies in this, because again, I haven't gone and tidied this up yet, but I thought I'd throw it in quickly as well, just so that people that wanted a dispersion glass wouldn't feel disappointed with the old one not working anymore. So now you do have something available again. As you can see, you can control the dispersion level on a value. So if you crank that up pretty high, you can make it more stylistic as well and get some cool effects. Of course, there's stylistic color control as well. So yeah, have fun with that one. And lastly, we've added a logical one. So there's a simple triplanar diffusion node group that's been added. Now, obviously, you may already know that I have a product called Hex Scatter, which is a very advanced scattering tool for Blender. It allows you to scatter non-seamless textures around any object using different blending methods, supporting a full PBR workflow, supporting normal correction, and all sorts of other things. There are severe limitations to diffusion in triplanar, but this is a simple starting point for people that do want to scatter image data around an object. Okay, so this is something you can learn from and start to build up your own. This is contributed by Slink. Excuse the spelling issue again of edge blend as egg blend. So like I said, in the future, I'll go and I'll do a full English pass and tidy these up. But like I said, I didn't want to waste the time that the patrons have paid for. So what you can do here is this will give you a vector output and you can plug that into an image node of any kind. In this case, it's just plugged into a generated Voronoi texture by default. We could have more complex versions of this in the future. However, like I said, if you want something that's full and comprehensive, then Hex Scatter is available. So that will do it for now. Like I said, you can grab this on Gumroad and Superhive. I'm just going to quickly make a magical appearance in the corner now. So like I said throughout this video, this has been enabled by the patrons. This was actually accessible to them exclusively on the members lounge for a few months until the development time was paid for. If you enjoy free stuff like this, please thank the patrons for actually contributing and for making this available for you. If you would like to join the club, then like I said, codasol.online/Patreon or /members where you can see the exclusive stuff, just to sweeten the deal if contributing for the community is not enough for you. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you made it this far through the video, show me by putting a heart related emoji in the comments. I will know what it means. Have a great day and I will see you next time. Today I want to tell you about Natali. Natali is a 3D artist demonstrating a wide skill set with significant experience in biomedical visualization. One project in particular that really caught my attention was the magazine cover for Science Advances. If there are any clients out there looking for cover imagery like this, then I can highly recommend reading through the project breakdown on Behance. But I should also say that Natali's work is not just exclusive to biomedical visualization, as you will also notice a proficiency with product visualization, motion graphics, and other aesthetic experiments. If you are interested in connecting with Natali for work, then you can either contact her directly or fill out the form on my services page, and from there I will connect you together. If there's any other work you need doing and are having trouble finding an appropriate artist, then let me know and I'll see if I can find someone suitable. Thank you and have a great day.